Hello, this is Dr. Robert Bouvier with the Health Centers of Michigan, and you were sent here to try to understand about longevity and how it pertains to you. I don't care if you're 80 already or 30. You need to listen to my good friend here because he has captured the essence of growing older. James Massar, right? M-A-S-S-A-R?
Yes, sir.
You've been around for a long time. What, 87 years now?
87 years. I'll be 88 in September.
So give me a little history of how you kind of came about this realization.
Well, 2 years ago in November, I went to my yearly physical, and my doctor reflected that my blood pressure was up to 176 over 83, and my pulse was 69. So we decided to get it under control. So the first thing I did was to lose 7 pounds. I went from 159 to presently I'm 152 to get my body mass where it should be.
So there's kind of you had this history, and you had set a goal with your doctor, and then you kind of came up with these 4 things that you can control and 3 things that you can't control. Can you review those 4 things that you can control and 3 things that you can't control?
The 4 things you can control, where you can manage your high blood pressure, is 1 is your diet.
Okay.
2 is your weight.
Okay.
And 3 is exercise. And the 4th is be sure to take the medication.
Okay.
The 3 things
So it was diet, weight, exercise, and taking medication. Okay, now what are the 3 things?
3 other things you have no control over. If you're an African American, the chances are you'll have high blood pressure. If there is history in your family that you have high blood pressure, you will. And the 3rd is, as you get older, you naturally will have high blood pressure.
So historically, what happens, and I'll give you the statistic on that, true African Americans, Asians, and Latinos are more prone to high blood pressure. Period. That 3 races. The family history, like you said, we can't control that. There's no control over that. And the 3rd thing is your age, and specifically what that statistic says. And we've known this ever since we've been recording this 5 generations ago with New York Life and Northwestern Mutual. Is if you're 55 years or older, you have a 90% chance of getting a blood pressure issue. Now, the reason we're having this conversation is because we want to make people aware of the blood pressure issue, and because that's important is because that's the main problem with whether you're going to get a heart attack or stroke. In fact, there's 3 reasons why people have heart attack and stroke. Number 1 is blood pressure out of control, 2 is cholesterol out of control, and 3 is blood sugar out of control. So pressure, cholesterol, sugar. That's the only 3 things that cause stroke and heart attack. There's other things that attribute, like smoking and sedentary lifestyle. There's other things that attribute, but those are the 3 mains that cause it. Okay, so you had these 4 things. Can you get into those specifics a little bit on how you take control of your life? And to me, I've been so impressed with you over the last few years that I've been watching you. It's really an honor to watch and be with you right now. So go ahead.
Well, it's a commitment. For example, when you say diet, to be kind of facetious, if you it's merely reading labels. For example, if you eat a Klondike bar, it's 17 grams of fat. If you eat some pickled bologna, it's 17 grams of fat. 35 grams of fat is 1 pound. So you have to control how much fat you eat during the day. For example, if I have a breakfast, 2 poached eggs, a whole wheat toast dried, a couple pieces of bacon, it's probably around 350 calories and about 3 grams of fat. So that's when you use the word diet, it's a negative connotation, but it's really watching what you're eating.
So become a label reader.
Absolutely.
Have the self-discipline to become a label reader.
Right.
Remember that what we just said, self-discipline. It's going to come back and haunt us, believe me. So the self-discipline. So in addition to those labels, what I try to promote is this thing about a low glycemic index diet. And if you want to go to another separate video and learn about low glycemic index, label reading, very important, low glycemic index. So go ahead, what's the second thing?
And the exercise, I think, is paramount. When I started, I was walking 20 minutes a day, doing 3 or 4 laps here at the mall. Now I wanted to extend that and push it for more strength, so I now, 5 days a week, 30 minutes. And I find that, with stretching of the calves and the quads, that I walk into the mall, I feel like I'm 87, and if people see me when I leave, they think I'm 67.
Oh, I've seen it.
Because truly, because you become more supple, and the first lap or two are excruciating from the arthritis in the groins, but after the 5 laps, you're walking out here like you're 67. So it's a total commitment to incorporate exercise in these 4 things.
So we come back to that we'll call it a 4-letter word, self-discipline. Okay,
Yeah.
it's really a self-discipline thing. So you kind of, in your exercise, you do strength, you cover the aerobic part, because you work with the strength, you talk about quads and legs and stuff, your arms and legs. The aerobic exercise, 30 minutes a day. The flexibility, that's really important. But I've also seen you do a thing with agility. That little side step thing, the little crisscrossing of your legs.
That stretches the groin area.
Okay, and the agility, tell me why you think that's important.
Well, because it's so easy to fall.
Right.
Like I've fallen 2 or 3 times, fortunately in a living room where I hit the carpet or a soft chair. But, I don't go up on ladders anymore because I'm afraid of falling. It wouldn't take long, any kind of a fall now is going to be a broken hip, it's going to be a broken arm, it's going to be, how many people, if you're at our age, 87 or so, prone to injury from falling?
Well, I can give you this statistic. Becoming frail is probably, what really this video is about, is how not to become frail. But becoming frail is probably the worst thing that anybody can do. And if you want to live longer, frailty is probably the most important thing that you want to stay away from. And with your strength, your aerobic exercise, the flexibility, and the agility training that you do really keeps you out of that frail range, because you are, I'm telling you, you're robust. I see you walk and get out there and move. I'm pretty impressed. And you've got some reasons not to move, but you do it anyway, and you end up at the end of your exercise ready to hit the day running, and I've always been impressed with that. So the 4th thing, so it was weight, diet, exercise, and the 4th thing was medication.
Be religious and take the medication your doctor prescribes.
As it's prescribed.
You may adjust it, or at first not be enough, but he'll counter that until it's where you want it. Because right now my blood pressure is 114 over 56, and my pulse is 58.
You were 170 something over.
When I started,
Yeah.
173 over 75 with a 69 pulse.
And now you're.
Now I'm 113 over 58.
That's fantastic. That's exactly what normal blood pressure is. Normal blood pressure, if you look at statistically, is 115 over 75. So what I try to do with my patients is try to get to 110 to 130 over 60 to 80. That's 110 to 130 over 60 to 80. Even at 135 over 85, excellent. Wow, that's excellent. Even at 135 over 85, you get a 2 times the risk of stroke and heart attack. At 135 over 85, if you're consistently up to that level, you get a 2 times the risk of stroke and heart attack. At 155 over 95, you get a 4 times the risk of stroke and heart attack. Let me say that again. 155 over 95, you get a 4 times the risk of stroke and heart attack. 175 over 105 gives you an 8 times the risk of stroke and heart attack. People are walking time bombs and they don't even know it. And a lot of people think that 150 over 90 is good. 115 over 75, looking at the last 5 generations, looking back into the history, looking back into the millions of people and the hundreds of scientific studies we've done, that 115 over 75 is really the key number for blood pressure. And you mentioned, and taking medication is, I think, vital. There are some herbal things and other things, but getting that blood pressure down to where it needs to be is very, very important. Your doctor has done a very good job with you, but I got to commend you because your compliance is so better. I want to say just a 30-second thing about compliance. In this country, we're going through health care reform. I had a meeting with senators and congressmen a couple years ago, and we were asked, so what is the most important thing that we can do to improve our longevity. That's in our healthcare reform. That's healthcare reform is decreasing cost and improving quality, right? So that means if we look at the total, the highest cost of medicine is what happens in the hospital and the emergency department. So basically, I extrapolate those two things in healthcare reform of decreasing cost and improving quality to two things. Number one, keep people out of the hospital and emergency department. And number two, delay the onset of stroke and heart attack by 30, 40 years, depending on how old you are. Okay? If you look into the book of Genesis, in the last chapter, it says that after the big flood, Noah, we're pre-programmed to live until 125 years old. It's our self-discipline that really stops that, really prevents us from doing that. Okay? And that's where I have been so impressed with you over the years. So the point here is that compliance with taking medication, in this case, compliance is the answer to every problem in healthcare reform today. And if you want to challenge me on that, I'd love to debate you on that. But compliance, improving compliance in some form or another, will take care of every problem in healthcare today. So, to recap this, the four things are weight, diet, exercise, and medication. The three things that you don't have control over is race, your age, and your family.
Right.
And self-discipline really seems, if you take home something from this conversation, the one thing that people should take home from this conversation is self-discipline. And you have it, James.
I learned character is not what your dad is around telling you what to do, or in the doctor's office what he tells you what to do, or your coaches. Your character is what you do when you're alone. If you recall, doctor, whenever you come in the mall, you see me, I'll say to you, "Good morning, doctor. I'm doing all I can not to come and see you."
It's true. Thank you, James, very much. You're absolutely awesome. I wish you and I pray that you have another 30 years of absolute
shot by a jealous husband.
Shot by a jealous husband. Okay, that would be your goal. But again, this is Dr. Robert Bouvier with the Health Centers of Michigan. Again, thank you, James. Thank you very much.